As a baseball player at the University of Richmond, I am a part of a culture through my sport and university historically shaped by black athletes' labor and resistance. But for over 3 decades, the number of black baseball players has been on a steady decline. In fact, right now, black baseball players make up just 6.2% of MLB rosters, the lowest number since 1955. When young black kids don't see someone like themselves in the game of baseball, they don't pursue it. But digital media is changing the way black players are able to express themselves and connect with fans. For decades, traditional sports media has been the gatekeeper of who gets seen and how they're portrayed. To this day, broadcasters and reporters still fall back on brains versus brawn stereotyping. White players get credited with intelligence and leadership, while black players with raw athleticism and physical gifts. This isn't just about language. It shows the power sports journalists have on how audiences see players on and off the field. For example, black college athletes at HBCUs, especially in baseball, get almost no media coverage compared to baseball players at predominantly white institutions. If you're not covered by ESPN or large social media accounts, you don't exist to scouts, fans, or the next generation. When black players do get coverage, there's pressure to perform what scholars call respectability politics. Don't celebrate too much when you score a touchdown, don't show emotion, or in baseball, don't flip your bat when you hit a home run. Traditional media enforced these unwritten rules, penalizing any expression that didn't fit white cultural norms. For decades, being a black baseball player meant you were left with 2 choices: assimilate or be invisible. This is where digital media transforms everything. Scholar Moya Bailey calls it digital alchemy, using tools on platforms built to exclude you and turning them into resistance. Look at Tim Anderson. In 2019, he started celebrating home runs with massive bat flips. Traditional baseball culture called it disrespectful. He got hit by pitches in retaliation, but Anderson didn't apologize. He was just being himself. He told ESPN, "The kids love it. I'm going to keep doing it."
Hit towards the middle, and a sliding stop by Hughes to first. What a play! He got him! P.J. Hughes with a terrific play up the middle, taking a hit away from McMillan for the final out of the ball game, and it's a
MLB even started posting from their organizational Instagram and Twitter accounts the slogan, "Let the kids play." Tim Anderson was able to reach a widespread audience because of clips. His bat flips and interviews went viral on Instagram, Twitter, and digital media spaces. His case shows how black baseball players no longer need to adhere to the respectability politics of traditional media to reach fans. He was creating his own narrative, and it started a movement through digital media. This connects to what Andre Brock calls distributed blackness. In a sport where black players are isolated at 6% of rosters, digital platforms give black players the same opportunity for exposure as the rest of the players in the league. They're not waiting for ESPN to tell their stories. They're telling them directly. This past weekend before one of my baseball games against VCU, 2 of my black teammates were being interviewed by a woman in the dugout. I was nearby listening and drew so many connections to my personal project. I introduced myself to her after the interview was over, and her name was Sharon Cerny. She runs the Kids on First Foundation right here in Richmond, a nonprofit focused on growing the game for minority kids. When I told her about my project, she told me a couple of ways she contributes to black digital commons in the game of baseball herself. Sharon hosts a podcast called All-Star Insights, featuring black baseball players. She uses Instagram to promote free scouting camps for players who can't afford the expensive showcases. Over half the kids at her first camp had never attended a scouting event. She travels to local college and professional baseball games, interviewing black players with the goal of boosting representation within the sport. She's building a digital network connecting players to fans, coaches, and opportunities. She told me, quote, "We are changing baseball in Richmond," and she's using digital media to do it. But we need to be careful in these digital spaces. Cultural critic Lauren Michelle Jackson warned about digital blackface, non-black users turning black people into reaction gifs and viral content without context. When a black player's bat flip goes viral, who really benefits? Is it the player building their brand, Or is it just fodder for online debates where people search for any way to strip the authentic expression of identity that it actually represents? Online visibility without structural change isn't anything but commodification. That's why what Sharon doing matters. She's not just creating viral content, she's building sustainable pipelines through her Kids on First Foundation and practicing what scholars call an ethic of care. In conclusion, I found 3 ways digital media is boosting Black representation in baseball. First, self-representation. Players like Tim Anderson are bypassing traditional gatekeepers and telling their own stories without having to conform to respectability politics. Second, emotional engagement. Highlight clips, walk-up song videos, fan tributes, these create emotional connections that make people care. They turn individual moments into movements. Third, organizational support. People like Sharon Cerny are using digital tools to build infrastructure, not just visibility, but actual pipelines that create opportunities for young Black athletes. Together, these show that digital media provides the platform for Black digital commons that are built on honoring history, authentic identity, and Black representation in a sport that desperately needs to diversify.